My favorite part of doing real estate, giving back. Stay tuned and hear what we did. Hi, this is Joy Larson with the Joy team in the Keller Williams Greater Cleveland market. Thanks for joining us today. Today's a little bit different. We wanted to share how we gave back so far this year. $100 of every deal we did, we gave back to a special needs camp in FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that starts next weekend. And we wanted to share a little interview that we did with Tristan over there, who is in charge of it. We ended up giving $4,000 because we did 40 deals so far this year from January till the end of May. And that's because of you trusting us in referring us, and we bought and sold homes with us. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and our team, Jalissa, Andy, Beth, and I, and Lori, and Grayson, and Jeff. So stay tuned and listen a little bit on that interview, as well as text us and our team. If you are thinking of buying or selling, we can help you. All right, enjoy.
Well, I'm Beth Headkey on staff with FCA, and this is Tristan Griffin, and he's on staff with FCA in the Akron area. And Tristan, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and how you came about to get to FCA and all that good stuff?
Sure, yeah, Beth. So I'm originally from Texas and grew up down there, and then went to college at Texas Tech and then law school at the University of Texas, and then made a transition out of law into coaching college football. And that brought me to Ohio. I was at Tiffin University in Ohio. When I met Jesus, I met my wife, had my whole world flipped upside down, and ended up coming on staff with Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Akron about 6 years ago.
Well, tell us a little bit about the birth of this idea for the All Abilities Camp.
Yeah, so the All Abilities Camp started with my daughter being born, Scout. She's 4 years old, and she was born on March 8th, 2018. And we knew that something was different about Scout from the very beginning. And we got to about 9 months, and we realized that she was, we could lay her on her back, and she hadn't cried yet. She wouldn't roll over. She wouldn't move around. And so we continued to watch that, observe that, and we took her to the doctor at her 18-month appointment. And he wanted to do some genetic testing, and also found a heart murmur at the time, and so wanted to inspect her heart and see what was going on there. And we got to the 21-month, to where she was 21 months old, and we realized that she needed heart surgery. And so she had a heart surgery, and we also found out during the day that she was having heart surgery that she would need, or that she was diagnosed with something called Smith-Magenis syndrome. And so my wife and I, with heavy hearts, processed that and were challenged by that, but we walked out the other side of that month, bound and determined to serve her and people like her. And so we came out the other side of that with an interest in serving that community, and didn't really know how we could do that. But I knew that I worked for FCA, which is an organization that focuses on sports. And we also knew that the people in the disability community were underserved in the sports realm. And so, to make a long story short, I was at a presentation where a guy was talking about disability sports camps. And he was talking about how he was just blown away by how one of the athletes campers was so excited to be called an athlete. And for me, that just hit me right in the heart as we talk about inclusion and people with disabilities just being excited to be included with the other groups of the world. And so, in that moment, I knew I wanted to bring All Abilities camps back to Akron, Ohio with me. And so that's how camp was launched. That's where the initial dream and vision comes from.
Well, so last year was the first year that there was an FCA All Abilities Camp. Can you give us just one quick example or highlight from last year's camp?
Sure, yeah. I'd be happy to give you a couple. So the first thing is that FCA does all sorts of sports camps, and has for 65 years now, for typically abled people. And so started this All Abilities Camp, and it was within the first 15 minutes of registration that it became very apparent that it was an All Abilities Camp. So what happened, if you're familiar with people with autism, they can become overstimulated, overwhelmed, and they will take off running at times. And so we had that situation happen during registration at camp. We've got a camper that takes off toward the parking lot. I've got a football player from the University of Akron who is his buddy who's chasing him. I've got the camper's mom behind him who's chasing the football player. And though it could have been a very serious situation, it all worked out well. But that was our first we're at an All Abilities Camp moment. But then my favorite personal sort of station at camp was the football station. It was just a time of so much fun, and they were doing end zone dances, and there was the one girl in particular that was, they were running routes and catching balls and doing end zone dances, and she told them all beforehand, she said, I'm really good. She kept saying, I'm really good. And then she caught her touchdown pass, spiked the ball, and said, I told y'all I'm really good, and it was just this really kind but fun trash talking moment. That just in so many ways encapsulated what camp's all about, right? We want these athletes to feel as if they're a part of something. We want them to feel as if they can get out there and have fun, get into the moment, talk a little trash, whatever it might be, in a kind and loving manner. It's just a fun time.
Lastly, I just want to ask, what are your needs for the camp? How can people get involved? How can they help out financially?
I always say that our two biggest needs are people and resources. So just at the end of the day, we need those two things. This camp hosts 180 volunteers, and so we always have a need for more volunteers. If anybody wants to come to camp, be a buddy. Every camper has a buddy at camp, and so these buddies get to walk alongside of campers for 2 days, engage with them in all of the sports and everything that goes on with that. But we also have needs at camp for volunteers who are just floaters, or they might help out at a specific sports station or registration or something like that. And then financially, it's a $25,000 camp as well, right? So we continue to need people to partner with us financially to help us cover the cost of camp as well.
Thank you. We appreciate you, and we're happy to donate as well.
So very thankful for you guys donating to it as well.